Thank you for your interest in the Retained Recruiter show powered by iIntro. Before the show starts, I have a small favour to ask of you. Our goal is to provide you with the most insightful, helpful and practical recruitment knowledge and know-how from the best in the recruitment industry. If you like this channel and enjoy watching our content, hit the subscribe button to get notified as soon as we upload a new episode. Thank you again, and as ever, we're rooting for your success. Now, time for the show. Hello and welcome to the Retained Recruiter Show. My name is James.
And my name is Jo. Thank you very much for joining us here today. And as you'll see, there are only two of us today, James, aren't there? You're stuck with us, unfortunately.
Yeah. Half of our last one, we had four on the last one, so just the two of us. But Jo, we're going to have some sparkling conversation today because we've got a really hot topic that's challenging people out there, and we want to sort of give our opinions, thoughts, advice on some really important topics. So what are we going to be covering today?
Yes, so we're going to be talking about what we see as the three biggest conversations that recruiters are having about 2026. So, I don't think, well, the vast majority of us could probably say that the last couple of years haven't been that great, probably not as great as we thought they were going to be. 2026, it's a new year. Has the market turned a corner? Maybe not. So we're going to talk about the three things that people that are on the topic in most of the conversations that we're having today, and we'll reveal them as we go through the show. 30 minutes of, I think, relatively action-packed content that's super relevant to recruiters and recruitment business owners today.
Yeah, we'll make it. Just want to add something, Jo, to what you said there before we get into that. I mean, of course, when we talk about, particularly when we look back at 2025, and we've spoken to literally hundreds of recruiters, doesn't mean there are not recruiters out there who had a fantastic 2025, because of course there were. Yeah. But the general feeling out there in the market was it was a tough year. It was a year where people were overwhelmed with all of the flood of things like AI coming into that. So that overwhelmed people a lot. I'm going to talk about some of the emotional things which are sort of grabbing on people. I was also attended an event recently where we spoke, where there's a lot of talk about the market, both national in the UK and global in that side. So when you touched on is there an upturn in the market? And the general consensus was no, there isn't. But equally, there's not going to be a downturn either. So it's just a steady as you go. Now, steady as you go isn't a bad thing. It doesn't mean it's a bad market. And again, lots of the things that we saw coming through from the back end, second half of 2025, and certainly into Q3 and Q4 of 2025, we started to see recruiters getting busy again, which is always a good indicator from that side of things. And therefore, when you've got recruiters getting busy, it means that employers are starting to ease up and say, okay, maybe we're not going to be growing at 100 miles an hour, but we do need to continue business as usual events. So I think we've seen some good things from there. So I think there's some interesting things happening out there in the marketplace.
Yeah, do you know what? Absolutely. I think two things that spring to mind, which we're going to talk about a bit today. So one is unpredictability. I think the market has been very unpredictable. It's not necessarily been as expected, and I think in a way that makes people nervous. It makes clients nervous. It makes candidates nervous. So we're seeing some interesting things in the market. Maybe clients having higher expectations of what they want from their candidates and from their recruiters, but equally are candidates still feeling a little bit nervous about the market? Is it harder to get them to move? Are we seeing more kind of buybacks and things? So I think volatility, a bit of unpredictability, but also the other thing that I'm seeing a lot, James, and I know we spoke about this the other day, is just the pressure. I think the pressure on recruitment businesses at the moment, because there is an awful lot of competition. There's a lot of competition in the marketplace there, and there's a lot of pressure to therefore be able to differentiate yourself. And, I think a lot of businesses are struggling to know, how do I differentiate myself in a saturated market where everybody is now hustling?
It's not working.
All right, Jo, I've just heard that actually maybe our stream isn't going live. So I just need to check that
that's live. So we won't
say live,
just in case.
So I'm just going to check with our technical team in the background to see if they can verify and leave us a little message. So let's see if this is working.
Well, yeah, if it is live, guys, and you are watching it, please do comment, because
it's working now. So good. We're all working. I've just heard we're live. So then maybe we had just a temporary little glitch, but yeah. So anyway, just to recap, just very quickly, in case, so we're going to talk about 3 things that are challenging recruiters today. We're going to talk about the market, our perceptions on the market, what we're doing, and the first thing that we're talking about is a little bit of instability in the market. So we're just going to carry on from that conversation there, Joe. So just want to pick back up where you kicked off there. So I didn't mean to cut across you.
No, that's absolutely fine. The chances of me being able to remember what I said are slim, but we'll push on regardless. Oh, that was good. Can you repeat that? Probably not. Yeah. 2 things we've been talking about a lot, and the things that we're seeing in the market at the moment would be unpredictability. So the market is very volatile. It's very unpredictable. Particularly candidates and clients, I think, are a bit unpredictable. And also pressure for recruiters to be able to perform in a market that is tougher. But also pressure to be able to differentiate themselves, because there is a high level of competition out there. And one of the things we talk a lot about with our clients is how to differentiate your service. We'll talk a little bit about that today as well. But yeah, pressure to still continue to get results, but are we having to work a bit harder for it, a bit smarter? Yes, probably. So that's what we're going to cover today. We're going to look at the 3 main conversations that recruiters are having. Do you want me to reveal all 3, or shall we just go one by one?
Let's just go one by one. Just keep people keep them coming back for a little bit more, hanging on to the show. So stay with us.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, if we can stay here, we will. So the very first one, so the challenge number 1 that people are talking about is exactly what we just said before. So it's an instability in the market. So what's your take, being on the last few months, James, and the instability of the market?
Yeah, well, I think when you look at things like the volumes of roles that are coming through, that instability is there because it's there, it's not there, it's there, it's not there. So I think that pressure is coming through. So again, I was sharing some of those stats that I saw. There's not going to be a big ramp up, but equally there's not going to be too many freezes. Now, obviously, if you've experienced a freeze, one of your clients, that's I'm just talking in general terms rather than the market. The market is going to remain volatile, so you're going to get a little bit of those peaks and troughs that are coming through, but there is going to be business out there. You just got to dig around and find some of that. So certainly seeing a lot of that, but that vacancy volatility also leads to candidate volatility. And that's quite important as well, because candidates are sometimes when people are a little bit unsure of what's going to be happening. And again, I had something on the radio this morning that there's not going to be much growth this year, but I say it doesn't mean anything move. But that just means candidates can say, well, do I really want to move? Is it better the devil I know? And that can sometimes make it a little bit more difficult to pull candidates out. I don't know if you've seen any of that, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we say that every year is the year of the buyback, so candidates being bought back, renegotiations. But I think every year is the year of the buyback. But I'm certainly seeing it this year. Volatility, yes, so candidate uncertainty, which is leading to kind of more dropouts, more renegotiations happening. Certainly on the client side, we're seeing maybe slower, more unpredictable processes that recruiters don't necessarily feel like they can control maybe as well as they used to be able to. Got clients lowballing, candidates highballing as well. I'm seeing a bit of that. And then just overall, volatility around vacancies, number of vacancies are they actually fillable vacancies? So yeah, lots of instability. And I don't necessarily think sometimes these things happen and then they go away. I think we're kind of in an environment at the moment, an environment of instability, mild instability, that we just need to get used to it, I think, and learn how to deal with it, learn how to overcome it. So we've got a few ideas of things that are going to help with that volatility. So James, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so just before we get there, I just want to add one of the sort of like byproducts of that instability that you touched on there, and that is that it does slow down decision making. From both sides. The employers, they're just loath to make a decision because a little bit fearful of whether they're ready to make the decision. You then get that candidate indecision. So I think that's a part which can lead to as well. So I just wanted to add that little byproduct here. Instability is in the market, and so what we're going to look at are ways that we can help you to sort of overcome that. So the first one that I want to talk about, and it's a phrase that we use a lot, Joe, and I know it's a favorite one of yours as well. It's about embedding yourself into an organization and becoming what we call liquid cement. And what we mean by liquid cement is, the reality is there's movement in liquid cement. It's not rock hard concrete. It's not rock hard cement. It's about being liquid, so you can move around there, but it's difficult. And what we mean is, make it difficult for your clients to leave you, because the service proposition that you offer is that much better than anybody else. And one of the big trends that we're seeing going at this moment in time are seeing the fact that, you can't just be a provider of CVs or resumes. If you're just a CV vending machine, welcome to the world of AI. That's going to overtake you. The reality is getting more. You've got to add some value into your proposition. I know that's a cliche, a value proposition, but you've got to put stuff in there. So becoming like liquid cement means that you can do that. So what you're going to do is think about how you can, use words like imagine with your clients. Use that to say, listen, imagine you've got a high performing team involved in there. Imagine putting in place a process which is going to attract and engage those candidates to your organization. So what you're doing is you're positioning with them how we're going to do that. And it's also about sort of positioning that way. And then, Joe, it's probably good that we shared the example that I know we've got. We may not mention names on this one, but what you've got to do is by adding that value proposition, you can actually, instead of just being one of the recruiters on a PSL or something like that, you actually become the recruiter. You've had an outsource. So just want to give an overview of an operation that we've worked with recently and how we help them, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. So this organization wanted to transition. They wanted to transition away from being quite transactional in their operations with clients, because they were finding that, again, it was very an insecure pipeline. They weren't sure if they were going to have vacancies or not, and then it always feels like a fastest finger first person to get CVs through the door. And as an organization, they made the strategic decision that they wanted to transition away from that, and they wanted to move more towards a consultative, more of an embedded recruitment model with their clients. And they've been really, really successful so far. And a lot of that came from not just going asking, can we have more vacancies? That's not what this is about. This is about becoming a true recruitment partner with your clients. And not all of them. We'll talk a little bit later on about not every client is going to be the type of client that you're going to get predictability and return on investment from in 2026. We're qualifying them as much as they're qualifying us. But this is about identifying organizations where you feel you could have a long-term talent partnership with. So we can start to have conversations with them. We should be in the room when they're talking about growth strategies. We should be in the room when they're talking about pipeline strategies. If they're having a slowdown, we should know about it. If they're looking at internal talent pipelining, we should know about it. So it's about really having business-minded conversations with your clients to look at their recruitment now, their recruitment in the future, and then how can you help them? And not just help them to get CVs through the door, James, like you said before, but it's how can we help you to grow as an organization via recruitment and onboarding and retention of top talent within your organization. And at that point, you're way more valuable. That liquid cement thing starts to kick in.
Yeah. And this client secured a monthly 6-figure contract with this client. And they did it not just by, as you said, Joe, not just by saying, hey, we can find CVs or resumes faster than anybody else, but actually they've changed their value proposition and given them something that no other recruiter is offering, because it's added service, but the return to the recruiting organization is there. So that's all about scenario positioning in some respects, positioning yourself, this is what we could do for you if you enable us to do this. So that's one way. And obviously there are more ways. Some other ways to overcome it, Joe, and you just touched on there, things like talent pools, in terms of building those warm pipelines. That's really important as well, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. If we are, and I'm being a little bit lackadaisical about the way that I approach this, but if we're hanging around waiting for clients to give us vacancies, then we're going out and sourcing talent for them. That's the long way round. It's a very sort of 1990s style of doing it. There are lots of great talent out there. So what we should be doing is having a look at, okay, where is the highest demands within our markets? Let's go out and let's start mining the talent pools. Let's start creating networks of really, really great people in those sectors, in those disciplines, and then let's start taking them to market. So instead of being reactive, we're being proactive, and maybe not proactive, more preemptive. You're preempting what the market's needing, and then you're taking it to market. Equally, if you're working in sectors where these people are business generators, So with them comes a following, they are fee earners, there's some way that they're going to add value to the business. They're great to introduce to the market because there doesn't necessarily have to be a live vacancy there in order for a client to consider them. So I think, if you can't go in and start looking at massive embedded recruitment partnerships with your organizations, certainly look at talent pools, look at mining into talent pools where you've got the most amount of relevance. And then thirdly, I think I'm aware of the time. I want to say a caveat to that, not easy to do if you're not working niche markets. So that's another thing, everything goes back to, making sure you're working in a niche. But the third thing, finally, I suppose, James, is if we can't get true embedded relationships with clients, we could at least align ourselves more strongly with maybe hiring managers within businesses. So we're getting a little bit closer.
Yeah, I think it's important. I just want to get to the point, Joe, because you've got a lovely phrase. I don't want to miss it out because when the way that we say the word niche is the way that the word niche should be said. But there is that phrase when you're digging down into a niche, but it only works if you say it with an American accent or an American word, or the way they say it. And there's riches in the niches. Yes. Yeah, so if you say riches in the niches, it doesn't quite work as well. But riches in the niches is something that they'll say a lot in America, and that's all about you sort of driving down. So listen, that first point they want to get across to people is there is instability in the market, but use it to your advantage. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can actually get in clients. There's instability for the clients as well. So what you can do is give them a little bit of certainty and help them overcome that by sharing with them the things that you can do differently. So I think that's really important. So let's go on to the second one, Joe. What's the second thing that's grabbing people in the market at the moment, or that's being impressed upon them?
Yeah, challenge number 2. So this is really interesting. So we've titled this as margin squeeze, but I think it's like margin squeeze and service squeeze. So just to elaborate on that a little bit, we've got clients wanting to lower our fees, but wanting a higher level of service, or lower our fees and then keep us so far at arm's length that we have no control or advocacy in that relationship. We've got salary expectations rising. We've got clients maybe not wanting to pay market value. We've got this challenge over hybrid working right now. People want to do it. Employers might not want to. There's a lot of sort of mismatching within it, which making our job harder. Longer hiring cycles, you mentioned that earlier on, the clients taking longer to make decisions. And then you've got competition. So we're being squeezed, our margins being squeezed, our service levels being squeezed, but also what we're being squeezed by the level of competition, and not just from other recruiters, but from, more low cost models of sourcing, let's say, because again, we're trying to move away from sourcing and into strategic partnership alignment with clients. So correct. Margins are being attacked in every direction. James, what do we do about it?
Well, it's interesting. I've listened to various people sort of say, my margins are being squeezed, and they've got nothing to retaliate with. Now, I've heard people say, listen, I've gone to my clients and I've just told them I'm increasing the fees. How's that working out for you? Now, if you're saying I'm increasing my fees without any corresponding impact on the value, then you're going to be lucky to get away with it. You might do, don't get me wrong. And I know this is where you might do, because you can justify it, say, listen, and I heard a great phrase from one of our clients. Said, he went to his client and said, how many times have you changed your pricing over the last 5 years? I said, well, at least once a year. So how many times have I changed my pricing with you? Not once. Now, the counter to that was, but you get a percentage of salary, and that's increased because we just talked about the pressure on salaries. But then all of our other costs, in business have also been squeezed because costs have gone up. Things like LinkedIn recruiter costs, job boards, etc., all those costs, employee costs. They've all gone up. So the reality is, if you're being squeezed on margins, you've got to find a way to combat that. And the best way to combat that is to focus not just on how active you are with the clients, but to sell the outcomes. What is it you're trying to help the client with? Is it just to put a bum on a seat, or is it to put a rock star into the business who's going to drive that business forward, depending on the level of position you're working at? So what you've then got to do is look at your overall proposition and how that fits in with the client and what they want to achieve from that. It's not about how fast I can move or how quickly we move. It's how I help you sort of go out there. So we talk a lot of, Joe, don't we, about differentiating yourself. And that's about sort of showing where you do add value. It's not just I can find CVs faster and quicker. It's not that I can do it cheaper than anybody else, because the cheapest out there in the market probably won't be the best. But if it's just cheapest, it's going to be AI. And recruiters are already overwhelmed with AI. There's a lot of AI confusion out there in terms of understanding that. So you've got to become a problem solver. You've got to make sure that you can show your client, this is what we do, this is why we do it, this is what it will mean to you. Yeah, so we've got to remember, we're in sales here, so we don't sell features, we've got to sell benefits. You've got to sell benefits of your thing. So whatever your differentiation point is, you've got to put yourself in the seat of the class. Say, what does this mean for you? Yeah. Well, yeah. What does this mean for them? And we could talk about with them. What's in it for me? But just jump that onto the side of the table. Think of what's in it for your client. And so any feature you've got, say, what does that mean to you? I'm fast. What does that mean? It means like my time to hire is 28 days or whatever. What does that mean to the client? Well, it means this, this, and this. You've got to quantify the benefits in terms of time, people, or money in terms of those particular type of sentences. So you've got to do it in that particular way. But I think there are ways that we can overcome that, Joe. And the way, I know we talk a lot about retained recruitment. And again, if you want to get in touch with us to share with you how we position this, but we can talk now about different types of models. But they're service models, they're tiered models where you can say, listen, let me take it on. So recruitment as a service, talent management as a service, how you can take a subscription model and put that into your client's solution. Now, if it's just a one-off vacancy, no, it's just a vacancy. But if there's multiple vacancies over a multi-month period, then think about a different proposition. I was speaking to an organization yesterday in South Africa, South African based, they're global. And they were telling me about the model. The reality is their fill rate out there in the market right now today is an impressive just under 1 in 4. They fill 1 in 4 of the vacancies. So they're taking a model to their client to take on all of the work from the client, but position it at a fee which is 25% of the overall salaries, because they're not going to place all of them, but they'll place enough of them. And the model, I probably haven't explained that very well, but the model means that the client is actually paying more, but actually the recruiter is actually getting the opportunity to work on that and embed themselves in that organization. So, gradually increase their fee levels, but actually they get a degree of certainty because that revenue is coming month in, month out. So there are different ways that you can do that. Any other ideas, Joe, on how we can overcome squeeze margins?
Yeah, I mean, squeezing margins means then that, like I said, there's a volatility in the sort of money that's coming into your organization, and particularly in perm, that's always going to be an issue. It's unpredictable. Unpredictable revenue is just hellish for forecasting. It's hellish for trying to sustain a business, let alone grow a business. So looking at different tiered levels of service that you can put into your clients' organizations, that differentiates you. And we'll talk a bit more about them in a minute. It differentiates you, but B, it creates consistent revenue streams for you as an organization. So that's why a lot of recruiters like to think that they want to move to retain, because obviously it's consistent revenue. You can't just move to that model, though, if you're going to move to a tiered. So a tiered model is essentially, for example, you could have contingent, you could have retained, you could have exclusive, and then you could have different levels in between. You're asking for different things from the client. In return, you're going to give the client different levels of service. So you can't, you've got to be very careful with this. You can't devalue a standard level of service, but a standard level of service could be very similar, very easily like an automated, quite a transactional level of service that a business is looking for. Now, if a business is looking for a more enhanced level of service, that could be more proactive sourcing, more embedded in terms of a proper service level agreement in place, timelines on delivery, assurances on delivery, such as replacement periods, etc. Then you could have the next level up from there could be a premium level of service where you start adding more things in, like market insights, market mapping, priority delivery, dedicated support, talent pipelining within the organization, adding more levels of assessment or qualification so that you're guaranteeing a better match, which then aids retention, and looking at outcomes, basically, not activity. So if you sell activity, so CVs and interviews, basically, you'll be priced like a commodity. If you start thinking about outcomes and become more results focused, such as things like, we will help you to reduce your time to hire, improve your retention rate, have a stronger quality of hire, improve the productivity rate of your new hires, etc., then you start to be paid like a partner. And so that's where that premium level of service comes in. So sell outcomes, not activity, differentiate your service by doing so, but then ask for something in return. And that something in return is that retained type of payment model. So a retainer, we do this in legal, we do it in many different sectors. You retain us to produce outcomes for your organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Joe, just want to share with people that we've actually put a lot of these thoughts into a playbook, and you can download that playbook and have a read of it in your own time. So before we get to the final point, I'm hoping there'll be a link popping up there on the bottom. There you go. It's just like magic. Well done, Joe. Must have been when you pointed your finger. But just to go to our website, www.i-intro.com /2026 playbook, and you can download our thoughts on this one. So we've got these points, but we're going to leave that link up there for another couple of minutes. So you don't need to rush to get it, but it's quite easy to remember. intro.com /2026 playbook. But Joe, let's go on to the final topic that's vexing recruiters at this moment in time. So I think it's quite an important one as well on things like I'll let you share it.
It's recruiter productivity, and businesses are feeling this, and I think that there's a lot of causes of lower levels of recruiter productivity. So that doesn't mean we're not busy. I don't think I've ever seen recruiters busier than they are right now, with so many more elements to their role than they were maybe doing previously. So sales, marketing, social media, all the admin that comes with it, the adoption of new technologies, meetings, all the other things. And I don't mean client meetings. They're not doing enough of those. I'll tell you that for a fact. I was having that conversation, the exact conversation this morning, actually, with a client. Yeah. But there's a lot that recruiters have to do. And are they maybe spread too thinly across many tasks, but also across bigger kind of markets as well? So again, we're back down to that kind of the niching element as well. So that, yes, we are busy, but busy and productive are two very different things. And I think businesses are feeling this. I certainly feel that recruiters, there's a level of kind of stress there. They feel maybe as if they need to be more organized, more disciplined. I've got so much to do and I don't think I can fit it in. So yeah, that's another. I think that's just that's a big one. I think recruiter productivity.
Yeah, I think it's massive as well, Jen. I think one of the other little trend that we've sort of seen, recruitment owners are actually having to take on a lot more as well, just to take up the slack. And it's not slack because it's not saying, but there's a lot of extra work that seems to come out. So that's just putting pressure on those particular areas that we spoke about. So it's really important that we look at ways that you can do that. Now I'm going to use the obvious one. I'm going to give my first response in terms of how we can help overcome some of that recruiter productivity or the fatigue that goes with it, because that can drive it. And that's AI, and although I just said a moment ago, there's a lot of AI confusion. The reality is AI is there to help improve your productivity. It's not to replace you. It's to do the mundane, the simple tasks that can be easily outsourced effectively to your AI agents that you've got there. And that isn't a complicated thing. It's not a complex thing, but it's about making sure that you look at where's the best return from my effort. What am I best at doing? And you're best at doing, what you're best at doing is speaking to your candidates and speaking to your clients. That's the bit that you can't replace with AI. So look at ways in which you can sort of improve your productivity by using AI for all the areas that's there. And listen, this isn't an AI show, so I'm not going to talk about that. But think about standardizing some of your workflows. Some of the workflows you got. Make sure that in your office, if you're a multi-person business, make sure you're using some you should have some familiarity. It should be your way of doing it. The way that you sort of document your processes should be there. And the next one is really obvious. I want to share with people, Joe. It's like, look at over the last however many years you want, look at your clients and prioritize them. Who are your tier 1, your tier 2s and tier 3s? Who are the people who give you lots of jobs, but then you never place with them? So it keeps you busy and it's dropping your efficiency rate. But you also, maybe I will get this one. Maybe you're not going to get it. So let's focus on those and look at your tier 2 and your tier 1 clients. So they're the ones you want to sort of develop and build those relationships with, so that you can really look at. So we sometimes talk about if you're into consulting speak, there's the Boston Matrix. You've got the 4 components are there. This is all in the download if you want to read about that. But you should. One of my favorites you've always come across, you came up with years ago, Joe. I'm crediting it to you. So if it's not you, then you need to just stay quiet. But we always talk about the preferred supplier list, but you should talk about your preferred client list. Who's on your preferred client list? Who are the people we want to work with? And these are your tier 1s that you really want to develop that relationship with. So start to put that. That'll improve your productivity because you won't be spending time doing those other bits and pieces where you're chasing vacancies that you're never going to really fill on that side. And what also, maybe Jerry, I'll leave you to talk about getting training and performance management. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. Let me continue talking.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you make massively valid points there. I think spreading ourselves too thinly. So, look at how you're niching your recruiters down. Definitely don't spread them too thinly. Look at what you can automate and what you shouldn't be automating. Absolutely agree. I think being a human is a USP nowadays. What's the fee earning? What is the fee earning elements of my job, that's where I need to be, and then I can enhance myself with technology and AI, definitely. I think tracking, just activity KPIs are fine, but if you're tracking people's CVs out, that's probably what they're going to do. They're going to send CVs out, and to what end, to what aim. So let's be tracking customer retention, return ROI from clients, exactly like you said. Which clients are making us the most amount of money and which aren't, because then we know where to put the most amount of our time. Where, it's like backing horses in a race. You back the horses that stand the greatest chances of winning. Standardize your workflows, like you said. And then I think also, are the people that you've got in your organization capable of doing what you're asking them to do? So one of the things we're definitely seeing, the market isn't getting easier. We're just going to have to get better, and that doesn't just mean just make more calls, do more stuff. It means we've got to be sharper, we've got to be different, we've got to be providing value. Yes, we've got to be doing business development. Yes, we've got to be doing candidate generation, and I think BD is candidates and clients. I just kind of lump it into the same thing because it is. Do your recruiters know how to do it? Have they been trained? Do they know what to do? Do they know how to represent your organization properly? And do they feel confident in going out and doing the things that you're now asking them to do, that they maybe haven't had to do before or haven't had to do for a long time? So I think, doing a skills gap analysis or a training diagnostic on your team, particularly if their job roles have changed recently, are you asking them to do things that are now outside of the job role? So realigning job roles, realigning learning and development, and making sure that, if you are recruiting, you're recruiting the type of people that you want in your business moving forwards. They might be hunters rather than maybe where you've had gatherers, So yeah, quite a lot you can do there to help with recruiter productivity.
Great. Well, listen, we've spoke about three things there today, and obviously you can catch all of these in our playbook, but we spoke about instability in the market, squeeze on margins, and recruiter productivity. But more importantly, we spoke about what you can do about that, because the way that we feel about 2026 is it is there. There is business there, and it will reward businesses who are repeatable and scalable. They've got scalable recruitment systems. So if you want to be one of the winning teams, make sure that you're adaptive, you're specialized, and you're productivity driven. If you focus on those areas, you will have a great year. And that's the really important thing. So have a look at our playbook. Get in touch with us as well if you think we can help you. Joe just mentioned training gap analysis. So if you want some comments or thoughts on those, please get in touch with Jo. She's available on LinkedIn, of course. Catch her anywhere. But there we go. So that's a little bit of a whistle-stop tour. As ever, Joe, too fast, too soon, all of those types of things. But thanks for sharing all those views with us. And I hope you've enjoyed it, everybody listening.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us. And yes, we're going to have some special guests coming up. So our next show is in a fortnight.
2 weeks.
And we'll be announcing our next guest after that. But no, thank you very much. It's been a great show. And hopefully people have found it insightful. Yeah,
thanks for joining us. So goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
Cheerio.